Most people try Microsoft Loop once and either walk away or end up using it completely wrong. They treat it like a basic note-taking app, a cleaner version of OneNote, maybe a place for quick thoughts, meeting notes, or simple to-do lists. But here's the problem. When you use Loop like a notebook, you miss everything that makes it so powerful. I've been sharing practical Microsoft 365 strategies on this channel for years, helping millions of people work faster, stay more organized, and actually get things done. And Loop has the potential to do just that, if you use it the right way. It's not just another notes app, but so much more. So in this video, I'll show you the 5 most common ways people misuse Microsoft Loop, and more importantly, how to do it better. And if you're ready to go even further, not just learning Loop, but actually connecting it with tools like Teams, Outlook, Planner, OneNote, and To-Do, then check out the link below. That's where you'll find my Microsoft 365 Productivity Masterclass. It's built for professionals who want to save time, reduce stress, and finally get meaningful work done without juggling 10 different apps. So if that sounds like you, the masterclass might be exactly what you need next. Before we get into the fixes, let's start with the most common mistakes I see all the time. This one's everywhere. Someone opens Loop, creates a page, adds a few bullet points, maybe drops in a table or checklist, and then treats it like any other meeting notes tool. Why does this happen? Because on the surface, Loop looks like a simple, standard note-taking app. It's clean, flexible, and feels a lot like OneNote, or maybe rather like Notion. But when you use Loop that way, you're basically using like 10% of what it's built for and missing the real reason it exists. Loop isn't meant to be a better version of your Notes app. It's meant to help you think together, live, async, across tools, without losing track of what's happening. So what's the better way? Instead of using Loop as a private notebook, use it as a shared thinking space. Here's how. Start by creating a workspace for your team or project. At the top left, click New Workspace. Give it a name and optionally add a cover and an icon to make it visually clear. Then, inside that workspace, create a new page, maybe for project kickoff, brainstorming session, or decision log. Now here's the key. Don't build alone. Click Share in the top right corner and invite your team. As soon as they open the page, they can add ideas, comment on yours, or even co-write sections in real time. And yes, you can also collaborate with others in OneNote, but I believe it's far smoother and with advanced features in Loop. You'll see their presence live on the page. You can react with emojis, leave inline comments, and build a shared understanding without needing to schedule a meeting or send 12 emails back and forth. It's a small shift in your workflow, but a powerful one. Loop isn't just for documenting after the conversation. It's also for doing the thinking together in real time, asynchronously. Now, once people start using Loop pages the right way, this is usually the next trap they fall into. They create static pages, just text, maybe a heading or two, and that's it. Even if they have shared them, they completely overlook Loop's most powerful feature, components. Why does this happen? Well, Loop's navigation menu is not very straightforward and components rather hidden. And unless you already know what Loop components are, you might never navigate to the components Loop offers. But here's the problem with ignoring it. You're missing the real magic of Loop. Collaborative building blocks that live beyond the Loop app itself. Because Loop components aren't just static content blocks. They are live, updatable elements that you can drop from Loop into apps like Teams, Outlook, and even a whiteboard. And they stay synced across every place you've shared them. So how do you use them the right way? In a Loop page, type / to bring up the component menu and choose task list within the template section. Add your tasks, assign them to teammates, and set due dates. And now you can turn this content block, just like any other block, by the way, into a Loop component. Just click the 6-dot menu to the left of the task list and select Create Loop Component. You'll see a purple-blue border appear around the task list, symbolizing it's a loop component. Now go to the top right corner of the component and click the Copy Component icon in the middle. Head over to Microsoft Teams or an Outlook email, open a chat with your team and paste it directly into the message box. Hit Send and that task list is now live in Teams. Anyone on the chat can update, add or adjust the tasks directly. And here's the best part. Any changes they make in Teams instantly reflect back in the original loop page. No duplicates, no confusion, just one shared source of truth across different tools. So as I said, you can do the same with any other content block in Loop, be it a checklist, voting table, progress tracker, or just a simple bullet list. Let's move on to mistake number 3, one that usually comes right after people discover how powerful Loop components are. They get excited, maybe even a little too excited, and start moving everything into Loop. Meeting notes, project plans, decision logs, entire document libraries, and suddenly Loop becomes the dumping ground for all kinds of content. And at first it feels great. Everything's in one place, it's flexible, collaborative, and what's not to love? But then the problems start. Workspaces become cluttered, pages get buried under layers of nested sections. People don't know where to find what. And worse, your team, or maybe yourself, lose trust in the tool because no one knows how to navigate it anymore. So what's the better way? Use Loop intentionally and not completely. Loop works best in, I think, the early stages of collaboration, when ideas are forming, tasks are still changing a lot, and the structure isn't fully clear yet. It's great for brainstorming sessions, project kickoffs, meeting agendas, decision-making threads, anything that really requires thinking together in a fluid way. But once something is finalized, like a finished document, a clear plan, or reference material, it probably belongs somewhere else. So here's a simple rule I use in my daily workflow. Loop is for building together. SharePoint, OneNote, or Word is for storing the outcome. And if you want to keep your Loop clean and usable, here's one tip. Create one workspace per project or team, not per person. Use consistent naming for pages like kickoff plan, decision log, or weekly stand-up with the respective date. And avoid dumping unrelated content into the same workspace just because it's convenient. Because when Loop stays focused, people actually use it. But when it turns into a mess of everything, you'll be back to email threads and long lost Word documents in no time. Let's come to the next mistake, which is actually a feature that almost no one talks about and most people never even notice. Most people completely ignore the Workspace status button at the top of every Loop workspace. It's small, easy to overlook, and when people do click it, they usually see, well, nothing. Not even a blank screen, but even more disappointing, an empty template with predefined sections with placeholders that content will appear there eventually. Once you see this, you assume it's useless and never click again. But here's the thing. When used properly, the Workspace status view can give you a high-level overview of what's happening across your entire Loop space without digging through individual pages. So what exactly does it show? Click the button at the very top of your workspace. It looks like a small grid below the workspace title. This opens the status page, which summarizes some general workspace insights, assigned items, status labels like in progress or blocked, pages with recent activity, and even a recap of what your team has been working on. But this is the key. It only works if you've actually been using components inside the workspace. If no one's assigning tasks using labels or updating content, the view stays empty. So how do you make it useful? I'd suggest to start small. Use Loop components like the task list and assign owners and due dates whenever possible. Add a progress tracker and customize the label to reflect stages like idea, in review, done, or anything that fits your workflow. So encourage your team to react, comment, and tag each other regularly. Once you've got a few active components running, the status view becomes incredibly helpful. Instead of jumping between pages, you get a quick pulse on what's moving and what's stuck. And if you're leading a project, it's one of the best ways to stay on top of things without micromanaging. And before we jump into the next mistake and how to fix it, take a second to sign up for my newsletter. It's linked right below. I send out practical tips each week to help you get more out of tools like Loop, Teams, Outlook, and the rest of Microsoft 365. And when you sign up, you'll also get free access to a 7-day mini masterclass that shows you some of my favorite Microsoft productivity tips. And finally, let's wrap up with something also very common, because even when people start using Loop properly, collaborative pages, components, status views, they often keep it all inside Loop, which means they're still switching back and forth between Loop, Outlook, Teams, maybe OneNote, copying links, sending updates manually, and asking, did you see that change I made in Loop? And here's what they're missing. Loop isn't just an app. It's a real platform that lives inside the tools you already use. So it kind of connects everything together, if you know how to do it. So let me show you. Let's say you've created a voting table or task list in Loop. Instead of just copying the page link, go to the component itself and click the Copy Component button in the top right corner of the component. Then open Teams, go into an existing chat or channel and simply paste the component there. It looks simple, but here's the magic. That component is now live and editable right inside the chat or channel. When other members check a box, add a comment, or change a status, it updates instantly in the original Loop page. Same thing works in Outlook or OneNote. In any email, meeting invite, or OneNote page, paste a component or create one inside Outlook or OneNote directly by navigating to the Insert tab. You can create new components like a checklist or a table right there. And everyone can update it, and it syncs back to your workspace in real time. No more screenshots, no more just updating your emails. Everything stays connected, visible, and up to date wherever your team is already working. And this is what turns Loop from just another app into an actual workflow accelerator. But if you keep it siloed, just another tab in your browser or another app on your computer, it never gets there. So far, we've covered some of the most common Loop mistakes and how to fix them. But there's still so much more you can do to get the most out of Loop. So if you're ready to unlock Loop's full potential, watch this video next where I'll show you some powerful Loop tips and tricks that will save you time and make collaboration on your projects so much easier going forward.